Hey friends, welcome to Living the KG Life, a pixie dust filled podcast. On today's episode, we have Lo joining us to talk all about her incredible shop, YOLOso. So stick around, it's going to be great. All right. Well, Lo, thank you so much for joining today. We are going to hop right in. So why don't you kick us off and tell us who you are and what you do?
You betcha. Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this. So my name is Lo. It's kind of my quote unquote stage slash whatchamacallit name, but I am born and raised in the upper Midwest up here in cold Minnesota where it's, 20 below lately.
Oh,
Um,
whoa.
yeah, it's frigid. It's cold. Shout out to the rest of us around the country who are dealing with these sub-zero temps, but born and raised here. I am a 35-year-old mother of two children and a shop owner, small shop owner. So it's kind of my fun side hustle. My shop is called YOLOso. A lot of people always ask me how the heck you pronounce it, and it's YOLOso. Comes from YOLO, which is, of course, you only live once. And then kind of became my motto back in 2017. It was like YOLO, so fill in the blank. And
Oh,
so
I
that
love
all kind of came together. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk about the shop.
Yeah.
I am a proud owner of some YOLO. So
As you're rocking it
yep,
today. I
I got my
love it.
Disney art shirt on, which is one of my favorites. I have the hoodie that says make more memories. And that's what I think about when I think, yes, I have the hoodie version, the light
I
gray
love that. I'm wearing it.
to me, that's what I think about when I think about your shop, like happy, positive memories of things. And I love the shops that have Disney
Yeah,
vibes, that have kind of like the subtle vibes. I also do love a good, Mickey all over my shirt.
sure.
Let's not lie here. But I love those shops that have kind of that subtle hint because that's like a deep passion for people when that's their vibe. So talk to us a little bit about your background with Disney. What's your earliest memory, or how did you fall in love with Disney?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was 400 years ago. No, I was lucky and fortunate enough to go to Disney a few times growing up. And so it started at a very young age. The classic Disney Renaissance was when I was growing up: Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, all those movies. And so, in kind of the peak of the Eisner years, was when I was watching Disney Channel and going to Disney and doing all that fun stuff. And it kind of started not necessarily because of Walt Disney World. It was more just watching the movies at home, watching Disney Channel and stuff, tuning our cable box to channel 44 when we were able to get cable, all that fun stuff. And it just was a fun little retreat from the everyday chaos of, being a young kid. And my parents went through a divorce. So it was a nice retreat, kind of a home, if you will, to go back and have the warm fuzzies of, being surrounded by some of your favorite little characters and that happily ever after can happen and all that kind of stuff. So it began at a young age. I'd say probably the first time I went to Disney World was when I was maybe 8 or 10, something like that. And then we went a few times more when I was younger and then got hooked. I actually went in high school. My senior trip was to Disney World when all my other friends went on a cruise. My parents were like, nope, you're not going. You're not allowed to go to Mexico. It's not happening. So we'll take you to Disney World. And I was like, sign me up. Okay, that sounds good.
It sounds incredible.
Oh, it was so fun. So I actually went with one of my best friends. Shout out to Beth, she's still one of my best friends. And her and I and my brother brought a friend. It was so fun, and that just continued into college. I went in my sophomore year with another friend of mine, and yeah, I guess it's really kind of struck much more now that I have my own kids and can see it living in them and the excitement that the Disney community and world and um parks and all that brings. So yeah, started young and it's grown since then.
Only grown from there. I can understand and relate to that for sure. Now, because you have a shop, you have kids, and you also go as an adult, do you
Mhm.
have different kinds of trips that you like plan for and like how you organize when you go?
Oh, for sure. So my friends, if they're listening to this, are probably gonna laugh at me because I am very well known as the spontaneous Disney trip person. So
Mm.
I will be the one that's like, I got my annual pass. I kind of want to go. I've got time. Work is a little less busy right now. I bet I can make a long weekend. Yeah, I'm gonna just book it for a couple weeks out from now and then just go. But those are definitely the ones that are just me and my friends. You know, my friends from, we call it our pod, and it's my Disney friends that I've met through Instagram. So, you know, I might go with Marissa, or, you know, she tends to be spontaneous Disney tripper like me, or we plan out, you know, the larger kind of Disney adult pod trips as well. But otherwise, when it's my kids, it's much more like, you know, 10 months to a year out, we're planning it, figuring out where we want to go, where we want to stay, all the things. And it's just a lot more kid focused, a lot more kiddie rides, less of the thrill rides, except now they're really into that. So that's kind of a fun chapter. So yeah, completely different. I mean, I have probably two different trips that I plan for. It's the chill. I'm going to eat Mickey pretzels the whole time as my dining experience.
Yes.
Stay up too late, you know, do all that, park hop all day long from rope drop to when, you know, the final goodnight kiss, and then that's it. But with the kids, it's a little different. It's taking breaks. It's, you know, potentially a nap. It's maybe staying for the fireworks if we can last that long, and actually doing sit down dining. It's just a completely different experience. They're
Yeah.
both great.
How does the shop fit into that? Do you try to plan content and shoots or anything like that? Like when you go, or is it just kind of when it happens, it happens?
So I started YOLOso back in 2017, and which is just bizarre to even think about. It's been that long at this point, but I started it as a result of being like, you know, all the Disney stuff that I see everywhere is goopy. And when I say goopy, it's like, you know, it's got characters all over it, or it's just like the whole thing is characters or direct representation of things and stuff. And I have a much more minimalistic kind of, I don't know, vibe. I just don't like stuff all over. And so when I hadn't found it, I was just like, you know what? I know some printers. I know, you know, graphic design was actually my background in college. And I'm going to just kind of create something and see if it sticks for myself. And then my friends that went on the trip. And so for that trip, kind of starting out, it was really because I had a quote unquote need for or desire to have my own kind of spin on the style and the Disney style. And so I created it and walked around the parks and had a few people like, where'd you get your shirt? You know, and things like that. And put it out on Instagram. And then a bunch of people like, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? And so I started my own little side hustle, which was YOLOso at the time. And actually, at the time, I was creating ears primarily instead of t-shirts, but t-shirts was kind of an afterthought, which became much more central focus of the shop, obviously. But as it, you know, as it continued to grow, I realized, you know, 2018 and 2019, there was a lot of pressure to create that content and to kind of proactively plan for launches and new design drops. And then I'd have to wear them in the parks, and then I'd send them to my friends so that they could wear them in the parks, and my reps and all this stuff. And it made it less fun. So I scaled back significantly in 2020 into 2021, did more scheduled drops that were, you know, more on a monthly basis, especially in 2021, and really just based off of when I wanted to drop something. And if it happened to be a new design when I go, then great, I'll wear it. If it's an old design when I go, I might wear that too and just bring it back maybe, or do something else. It's much less directed by my shop and much more directed just based off of, you know, to your point, the whole make more memories, which became its own design. So yeah, and I know that I'm probably one of the only shop owners that doesn't plan content in that way, but I always wanted it to just be authentically me. So,
And I think that's huge. And actually, one of the things that I really like about your shirt and your sweatshirt that I have is it actually has the name of the brand
yeah.
right front. The amount of times that I go places either with ears or shirts, and people, like you said, ask, where'd you get your shirt? And I'm like, oh, it's here. Here, write it down. Here's their Instagram. Go follow them.
Mhm.
Like right here.
Yeah.
Right here. Like it makes
Yep.
it so much easier to like help promote that stuff too. And I'm sure
Yeah.
when you know, share photos and things like that on Instagram, that also makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it was kind of a thing that I stayed away from for a really long time. I don't like stuff on my shirts, and I don't like a ton of branding either on my shirts, but you're right. It is kind of a little bit easier. And
Subtle. You like
yeah,
you know, it's not huge, it's not everywhere. It's like a nice, subtle little addition.
yeah, I think that's just it. You just nailed it. I was trying to find a way that I could bring my brand without putting my logo on everything, and just having the actual screen name in much more clean font is just, or not the screen name, the website in clean font is a lot easier to kind of have it out there as well, but still true to the brand, still to the minimalistic kind of vibe that I like to bring. But it's fun. And I'm glad you noticed that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we have, just hearing your background sounds very similar to mine. I also went to school for graphic design, same age range, same way to fall in love with Disney, all the same vibes. So I love it.
I love that. How did you get started with your podcast?
Funny enough, I just launched the podcast at the end of August of last year. I went on another podcast. One of my friends was like, I want you to come on and just like talk about Disney and
Yeah.
all the things. And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. And when I left, I was like, man, we only touched like the tip of
Surface.
the
Yeah.
iceberg. And I was like, I could talk about Disney forever. Like
Mhm.
that would be great. And a lot of people sent really positive feedback afterwards. And they were like, you should have your own podcast. And I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to want to
Mhm.
listen. And as you know, there's a ton of Disney podcasts out there. So I was like, how can I do something that I really am passionate about and excited about, but bring a different
Mhm.
kind of spin to it? So I wanted to really make this more of like what you and I are doing, like talk about my favorite shops and where I like to go, because people will say, where should I stay? Where do I shop? Where do I get
Mhm.
shirts? Where do I get ears? I literally had a note of like, here's where to get this from. Here's where to get this from. When do
Yeah.
you go? So I was like, this would be a fun way to like bring other people on, have shops share their stories, have other people share their perspectives and how they do Disney, because everybody does Disney differently.
So
So
differently. So differently.
that's to me the most important part, is like bring people on, almost like help inform people, and then make your decision. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but I will tell you all the places that I love to spend mine and the places that I really enjoy. So yeah, and it's kind of like taken off from there, and it's been a wild, really fun ride the last couple months.
Yeah, you've gotten some really incredible visibility, in the last couple months. So applaud you, because you're right. There are a million Disney podcasts. There's a million podcasts in general that people can listen to. And it's finding that niche. It's really important. Otherwise you become white noise.
Yeah.
So very good. Virtual cheers.
Thanks. And I think setting up boundaries too, right? I was like, I live up just outside of Boston. So I'm not going to be breaking news
Right.
type Disney person. I go down a couple times a year, but definitely not enough to do
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. So it's like, I feel like the most part, like what I love to do is to talk to other people about Disney. So
Yeah.
making that kind of what I want the podcast to be, right? There's so many other people out there that like to do things differently and shop in
Mm-hmm.
different places. So bringing all that together has been really fun.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks. So let's talk more about what you carry in your shop. And I say you used to carry ears.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I have some shirts, sweatshirts. What else do you carry in YOLOso?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. I started with kind of ears. I actually originally started with embroidery hoops, which is just kind of bizarre to even think about. But I know I used to do like magical embroidery things, which then turned into kind of pin holders and displays and stuff. And then, yes, because I had all the materials and again, could not find something that I really, really liked out there. I'm just much more of a minimalist, right? So my friend Amy over at Magic Shop Ears makes fun of me, but she kind of, she's always like, listen, Lo, I know that you like fill in the blank. So for me, it was like the monorail or Space Mountain or whatever. I'll make you a pair of ears. And I know already I'm not going to put the bow on it. It's just because I like more of that style. So I created my own kind of more minimalistic ears and then did some day or night ears, which was fun. But then, yeah, as I transitioned into more of an apparel brand, which was probably, oh boy, probably late 2017 is when I really started to lean into that.
Mhm.
It was predominantly t-shirts from, just your general everyday kind of t-shirts, but I always wanted kind of that premium feel to them because I'm so picky about what I put on my body. So they've always been Bell and Canvas t-shirts since day one. It's always been the softest possible t-shirts you can own, that wear really nicely. And then I transitioned a little bit more in 2018 into tie-dye, which was really kind of my epicenter of when my shop blew up. I was at the time kind of the tie-dye shop. So I had tie-dye t-shirts like crazy in so many different styles and such. And I've kind of maintained that throughout since that time, having some tie-dye elements and some just really fun, vibrant things. I've then expanded into, to your point, sweatshirts and hoodies and tank tops every now and then, but I've never really done like dresses or anything like that, skirts, stuff like that. It's really just been about kind of top half apparel,
Yeah.
if you will. And then I've done some hats as well, which is kind of fun, some embroidered hats and stuff like that. But now I've actually been over the last, and you've probably noticed, over the last quarter, 2 quarters, focusing a lot more on home goods. So I've done a lot of mugs recently with some of the quote designs that I come up with.
Those cards in your last drop the other day.
Yep, had postcards, and a lot of that stems from the end user. So people who are coming to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, please put that on a shirt, put that on a mug, put that on I want to frame it. I'm just going to print it here." I'm like, "No, I'll get you a postcard that's $3 and it'll be much higher quality than if you printed this from a tiny little thing on Instagram or whatnot." Those things, for the record, don't make shops hardly any money. There's very, very little margin on those things, but they're just fun to have some of that fun stuff around your house. So yeah, a little of everything at this point. I'm actually looking at some blankets coming up.
Ooh.
I know. So in the cozy months ahead, leaning into that, but we're also looking at more premium items too. So like the Champion sweatshirts, like I'm wearing right now, I Make More Memories Champion sweatshirt. It's a thicker, heavier weight, very in style right now. Hard to get your hands on, frankly.
And I feel like our generation too loves a good Champion sweatshirt.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you think back to, the college sweatshirts we'd get from the college shop or wherever.
Or you'd
and
steal
I-
from someone.
oh yeah. And you'd be like, oh, they visited this campus. You got to get a Champion sweatshirt that's got that campus on it, right?
Yep.
It's very nostalgic for me. So that is part of why I brought it in too.
Amazing. Now, is there a particular product or maybe a line of products that are the most popular in your shop?
Oh my gosh. Yes. And it's funny because it's changed over time. When I first came out with the Mary Poppins shirt, my Poppins and Co shirt has forever and ever been my bestseller. When I do have them, they typically sell out within minutes. It's just incredible. And I've consistently added more and more inventory of them, but without fail, they sell out quickly. And that's kind of a spin on Mary Poppins, obviously, but more branding a product based off of Mary Poppins, which was kind of a fun little take. So that one has been extremely popular ever since I came out with it back in 2018. The other ones that are always really popular are definitely the tie-dye shirts that I've come out with that are like the Ursula inspired ones. And then also more recently, actually, as of yesterday, we have a new bestseller, which is the Happy Thoughts design, which has the smiley face on the front, and the back has all of the different quotes from different Disney movies that are just empowering and inspiring. I am shocked actually with how well those sold. So those are really popular. And man,
So cool to see something that you design and create that I want to talk about in a minute, but that must be so cool to see something that was in your mind just fly through the shop. And I saw on your story, you had posted like, I can't believe how many of you are on the site right now waiting before the drop even happens.
Yeah. And, fellow shop owners will relate to this as well, but it is mind blowing. So Shopify, which is a platform that I use, has this really cool feature where you can actually see where people are coming in from all over the world. Because I have some people out in the UK and France and Spain who are purchasing from YOLOso, which is incredible. But it gives you this globe view and it says real time, this is how many people are waiting for you to open on your shop or are on your website. And there's hundreds. It's incredible. You'll open it up, 5 minutes before your shop opening, and there's hundreds of people just all over the country. And then it lights up whenever someone purchases or when someone new comes into the shop or whatnot. And it's just really, really cool. And I know for me, hundreds is incredible. I know there are shops out there that have thousands of people waiting or shopping at any time. But for me, having hundreds of people wait at a certain period of time is it's the coolest thing. It's just very cool.
I love it. So now let's talk about the design process. Cause like I said, I know that's a reason that I really love your shop. And I think especially with how your last drop just went, clearly your design mind is what people really appreciate and love about your shop. So what does the process look like for you? Is it something where, you have a book of ideas that you want to create? Is it something that just like when the iron's hot, you strike and you put a design together? And then how does it go from what's in Lo's brain to on my shirt?
Oh man, the answer is all of the above, really. Sometimes it comes from people reaching out and being like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to see you have a fill in the blank design." And then I'll start kind of researching and looking at song lyrics and kind of pulling out some things and thinking, "Oh, what kind of spin could I put this on or on this?" But I would say 99% of the time it's just through watching movies with my kids. So I'll be watching a movie, which spoiler alert, we've been watching Encanto a lot. So I've got multiple designs coming out for that,
Yeah.
just from, those quotes that really speak to you. And that's all about what we've been trying to do. So what will happen, and I actually have kind of a time lapse video that I pulled together for this recent design. So it'll be coming up soon. You'll be able to kind of see the full process from idea doodling all the way to when it's finalized, but it takes a really long time. It'll usually be an initial sketch, then it'll be refining, it'll be changing. It might start with actually a doodle that I put out on Instagram, and then people are like, I'd love to see this on a shirt. And then I'm like, okay, how can I modify this to fit better dimensions on a shirt? Or can I put this on the back and then have something on the front? So I would say that it really depends. There have been times, actually, Poppins & Co., that design, I had the idea in my head of what I wanted to do, because I wanted to put a spin on different products and kind of make them into some sort of a Disney inspired thing. And so I sat down and I sketched for quite a while. I did a lot of research on, what did old school sugar labels look like? And how can I represent that in some way, shape, or form? What kind of things did it include on it? Was it, ounces? Was it, whatever of the product for sugar? Right. And so sometimes there's research. Sometimes it's just sitting down and finding a quote that means something to you and doodling it out and drawing it and hand drawing it. Sometimes it's using actual fonts and then figuring out that feels more like what that font or whatever, or what that saying is trying to, that energy that it's trying to emit, if you will. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And then what we do, at least in my shop, what I like to do is mock it up. So it'll go kind of from idea to a mock up, and then from a mock up, then I'll print it and I'll see how it looks. I'll see how it washes. The nice thing at where I'm at this point is I've done thousands and thousands of shirts and hundreds of designs. And so I know from my printer kind of the quality of the ink and how it's going to show up and what's going to go. So I've moved to more mock-ups, and I can kind of turn designs more quickly, which is great. But I really like taking actual photos of my products when I can, so that I can get them in, feel them physically, put them down on a backdrop, take some photos for myself, or out in the parks or wherever it might be. See how people like them. That's where the influencers come in super handy.
Yeah.
How does this wear? How does it feel? And then ultimately push into the shop. So it can be anything from, a couple weeks turnaround to a couple months turnaround. There's definitely things I've had on my mind for a really long time, and I never thought they'd sell, like the make more memories. I mean, that was one of the first things I ever did. And it's
Right.
like, nobody's going to ever really want this. And then, just kind of put it down. And I'm like, I want this. So I'm going to do it. And
Mhm.
voila.
I love it. And it seems like you're, like you were just saying, with knowing your printer and knowing how everything works, you're able to make some probably decisions on the fly. Like when you were
Yeah.
doing your most recent design, you added a last minute color on
Yep.
your story. So that must be also really cool to be able to kind of on the fly make those changes, especially if you are a spontaneous person, whether it's
Yep.
trips or being able to make a decision. You own the process. You get to own
Yeah.
exactly what goes into your shop. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And that's a new, not new, I guess, anymore, but back in 2019, I was working with a small printer here in Minneapolis, and they would do all my work. And there were some challenges on quantities and quality and stuff like that. So I ended up, not working with them anymore, but finding another printer that was family owned here as well. And that's always been really important to me too, is not, leveraging the mass produced stuff, and more kind of keeping it close to home if possible. And they also allow me to get different things in stock. And so the tie dye and the t-shirts and things like that you can't get in some of these print on demand type things, that's where those come from. So to your point, being able to on the fly kind of pull something together, that's usually because there's a lot of conversations that happen. What's your inventory look like for this? Do you anticipate over the next 3 weeks it's going to remain? Do you think there's going to be do you have a massive order coming in of any of these things? And then also looking at some of the inventory sites to say, are there thousands available at this time? Because if there's hundreds available at this time, it's usually not going to work because everyone else is going to want them. So that's where the turnaround window really comes into play too, because it can be challenging to make sure that we're meeting expectations of customers while retaining the quality that we want to.
Absolutely. And now you mentioned drops. So what is the most common buying process for folks that have not purchased from you before? What can they look for? What should they know about the purchasing process from your shop?
That's a good question. And it's changed. So I think, at the very beginning when we were chatting, I had mentioned that I've moved more to kind of monthly drops or twice a month drops because in addition to YOLOso, I also have a full-time career and I have two little kids that happen to play hockey. So I am very busy.
The hockey life is
So
a busy life.
it is and I appreciate you recording it this time because now I have back-to-back hockey practices after this. So yes, it is very busy. But yeah, so basically the way that it works, you're going to want to be on our Instagram so that you can see when those are going to come up because they are not kind of the same time every month or the same day or every other week or anything like that. They're just at random when I have time. So it's typically on a Friday is when we'll drop our designs. We're not open as a shop like some stay open all the time. I only stay open or open up typically for a day until most of the items sell out. And then that allows me to get those orders in, get them produced, be very hands-on when it comes to the actual printing and the producing of it, and then ultimately shipping out as well. I can kind of plan a little bit more around my time. And then the rest of the time is just really working on Instagram and social media engagement and stuff like that. So it's typically 1 or 2 times a month, typically on Fridays at 10 a.m. Central Time, which is what time I am, which for the record is 11 a.m. Walt Disney World time and 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Disneyland time.
I love that people use the world and land times as their
yeah.
like their staples.
You have to. And then I will say, I will put a plug in for the Facebook VIP group because
Yeah.
oftentimes some of the more popular items will sell out in a few minutes and it can be really frustrating. And I feel that and I hear it in my messages after the openings as well. But if you're in the VIP group, we always do special access. So we have a password that's required on the website at all times. And so I'll change the password over to a different password that the VIPs have access to be able to log in 10 minutes early. So they get 10 minutes, jump ahead of the line, kind of access to the shop to get the items that they want. Sometimes we'll put discount codes in there as well, which is nice. And then we'll open up to the general public at 10 a.m. Central Time. And then it's open until it's not open. Basically, it's open until we sell out, and then that's pretty much it. And then we just kind of bring in different designs at will, depending upon time of year, depending upon what we can have in inventory, what we can see is available to us too, stuff like that.
That's awesome. So think about the VIP group like staying on property. You're going to get extra magic hours. You can roast properly.
That is such a good way to put it.
The place to be so you can make sure that you get whatever it is that you're looking for in the next drop.
I love that. I might use that. Thank you for that, Kristen. Appreciate
it. Now, what are you most excited about bringing to or having in your shop this year?
Oh, it just changes all the time. Every design that I put out, the only reason I put them out is because I love them. And there have been designs in the past or collections that I kind of get tired of printing over and over again. And so I'm like, okay, this just needs to sunset for a little while until I can get excited. Or as Marie Kondo says, spark joy again for a while. But I would say, I'm doing a lot more simple designs, a lot more hand-drawn designs that I'm excited about that really stay true to YOLOso, not super goopy, as I said. One thing that we don't do is direct characters on the shirts. It's a lot more kind of influenced, and that's something that will stay as well. We might have some ears on something, but you're not going to see a full character or anything like that. So I would say a lot more of what you've probably seen in the last quarter, which is the Make More Memories, which is the Happy Thoughts as well. And I'm also going to be doing more with my kids, which I'm so excited about. So
nice.
Yeah, they love it. And my oldest is just a little artsy fartsy chick. She just loves drawing and doodling. And my youngest is now getting into it as well. And so I'm going to have some more kind of designs that they are part of or doodle on or do something, which makes it really special for me. And then they earn that dollar too. So it's kind of fun for their little savings and financial literacy training here, but it's really fun for them. Yeah. So lots to come. I'm excited.
So make sure you are staying in the loop. And on that note, where can people find you if they don't follow your shop yet?
Yeah. So you can find me at yoloso.co is my Instagram handle. online, it's YOLOso.co as well. So we're not as much on Facebook unless you're in the VIP group, which I actually have a highlight saved on the Instagram where you can go out and request access to that group. So I'll go ahead and approve you if you request and answer the questions. So that's where you find me.
Awesome. We'll make sure those all get dropped into the show notes as well, so everybody can find you nice and easy. And I also wanted to make sure before we jump into our speed round of favorites that we plug your podcast.
Yeah.
So you are part of a really cool podcast called the Pixie Chicks podcast.
Yeah.
So if folks have not listened to your podcast yet, give them kind of the high level overview. What is the podcast about and what do you all talk about?
Oh my gosh, yes. So the Pixie Chicks podcast, shout out to my fellow chicks. We have so much fun. We are women from all over the country. We have truly all over the country. So we've got someone in Arizona, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Arkansas, and Florida. So we've got our boots on the ground. So we've got Holly, who goes to the parks for us all the time. We've got Ashley, who goes to Disneyland. And the rest of us are just talking about news and updates and style advice and a lot of just Disney news, a lot of things like that. Also, a lot of reviews of anything that touches Disney from an entertainment perspective. So it's any of the recent movies when it comes to Marvel, Star Wars, and traditional Disney. We are, a few of us are super hardcore Star Wars nerds like myself. And Marvel nerds as well. So we go deep into theories and thoughts about what's going to happen with the metaverse and stuff like that. And then we also talk a lot about, the changes and a very, I would say, authentic approach. We don't sugarcoat anything. So it's kind of we're not paid by Disney. We're not sponsored by Disney to do anything and say all these great things about them. So, we wear our thoughts and emotions on our sleeve when it comes to talking about changes and updates and what we like and don't like and things like that. And we each have our own little focus, right? So each of us brings a little bit of a different piece to the puzzle, but we're all women, which is cool. In the Disney community, there's a lot of, male podcasts, which is totally fine, but just a different perspective. So it's really fun.
The Marvel and Star Wars world as well. Having some strong female opinions and thoughts on that is super killer.
It is so fun. It is so fun. And we range, I should also mention, in age. We have, everything from mid-20s up to 40 in the podcast. So the differing perspectives from differing areas around the country, and then also from different age groups and demographics. It's really fun. So it's a really, really good group. They're my best friends that we've made through Instagram, which is super fun. Yeah. And we have episodes every Monday.
I love it. And what's your favorite part of being a host on the show?
Oh, I think it's just kind of right. Well, and you'll appreciate this. Podcasts are a lot of work. It's scripting, it's producing, it's editing, it's publishing. And, until you have a significant fan base or, a ton of downloads and a Patreon, you're not making money from them, or subscription or sponsorships, right? You're not making any of them. And we've recently hit 120,000 downloads, which is so cool. Amazing. So really excited about that, but we haven't gotten to that next step yet. So my favorite part, despite the work that goes into all the things, is just being able to connect with some of my besties and talk and kind of escape from the the world for a little while and get to the magical place and dream and do all the fun things that come along with that. So it's very fun.
That's awesome. And is there anything you're excited about bringing to the podcast this year?
Well, we're hoping that we all get to actually see each other in person this year. We're debating going out to Disneyland to go hang out with Ash. So that'll be really fun if we're able to make that work. Otherwise, just day to day, you just never know what's going to come up every week. There's always something else happening. And each of us have our own trips coming up that we're going to be experiencing, some of the new changes. And so I don't know. I don't have anything real concrete, just hopefully seeing them.
I think that is a great thing to have as a favorite to look forward to.
Yeah, it's pretty special. I'm sure you've met a lot of people through this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been, I think, also my favorite part, just talking to all different people or people that I've followed and chatted with and interacted with for years on Instagram, and actually being able to talk to them and have them tell their own stories has been super cool.
Yeah, it's really neat to be able to see people that too in person eventually. I
Yeah.
mean, when you can see your own designs, that's like the coolest thing ever. But when you actually see humans that you connect with, it's even better.
Yeah. So we have our last two sections of the podcast. So we're going to do our speed round of favorites, which is just kind of, we'll name something, tell us what your favorite is, and then we'll do your favorite magic moments. What is your favorite resort? It can
Ooh,
be any Disney resort.
hardcore, hands down, Port Orleans Riverside. Love it more than any of the deluxe resorts I've stayed at. It's my favorite.
I love it. All right. How about your favorite restaurant on property?
I'm laughing because Amy would make fun of me because I usually don't sit down and eat. I'm usually eating a Mickey pretzel, but my favorite would have to be Tepanito
Okay. And
in
that
Epcot.
is in Epcot, right?
Yep, in Japan in Epcot. It's
I've not
delicious.
been there, but I've heard it's amazing.
So good.
Love it. All right. How about your favorite park?
Epcot.
Yes. I was just saying to somebody on one of our recent episodes, for Magic Kingdom came out hot in the beginning, and we're getting a lot more Epcot as we're
Oh yeah.
good.
Oh yeah. Epcot is just more, I don't know, peaceful and less chaotic for me. Magic Kingdom's so crowded. And especially with kids, it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So yeah, I love Epcot. Just much more chill.
Amazing. Do you have a favorite ride at each park?
Oh, for sure. So at Epcot, it's Soarin'. Love Soarin'. I have a feeling it's going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind when that comes up. But
Yes, I can't wait
yeah,
for that.
that sounds amazing. At Animal Kingdom, it's Everest for sure. It's actually my favorite overall.
Mhm.
Um, at Hollywood Studios, this one always changes for me. I think I actually pick up a new favorite every single time I go. So I can't even say that there's like one that really stands out to me anymore. But I do really, really like the Rock and Roller Coaster. So that's that. And then at Magic Kingdom, it has kind of morphed from Space Mountain, which has always been my favorite since I was a little kid.
Mhm.
But I really, really like Big Thunder Mountain now. I don't know. My kids love it. It's just so fun. It's a little longer. So I got to say that one.
I feel like as people get older, or at least maybe it's our generation, as we get older, I feel like everybody is attaching to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. I don't know.
Yeah.
That and like the People Mover, I feel like
Oh, the
our
People Mover's
generation is like
classic.
bringing them back.
Oh,
So
yeah. 100%. Well, and I mean, my body can only handle Space Mountain a little, a little bit. I can't ride it multiple times anymore. So yeah.
I love it. I have a feeling I'm going to know this one based on what you've already mentioned, but how about your favorite snack?
Oh, for sure. Mickey pretzels and cheese. That is my all-time go-to favorite, favorite, favorite. Give me all the carbs. But I will say my favorite candy, which I also consider a snack, is the goofy gummies, the sour goofy gummies. So good.
Oh, I've never had those.
Oh, they're delicious. You got to have them. Hmm.
Add those to my list for my next trip.
Hmm.
How about your favorite Disney movie?
This is super hard for me. We were just talking about this last night while we were watching Encanto for the 4,000th time in the matter of the last 2 weeks, right? So Monsters Inc. has always been like my number one.
Yeah,
So I would say Monsters Inc. And can I do a top three? I think that's just
sure.
easier for me. Okay. So Monsters Inc. And then I would say Encanto is number two now. And
Mhm.
then number three is Frozen 2.
I think that is a fantastic top three.
Yeah, they're so good. They're just so
Yeah.
underrated. Oh, so good.
How about favorite Disney character?
Mike Wazowski.
I love it. I actually saw a really great Run Disney shirt. I don't know if you posted it on your story. Somebody posted it. It was a picture of Mike Wazowski, and on the top it said, "I made a race shirt."
Oh,
And somebody had their bib covering half of his face.
oh, I love that. That's
Like, that
awesome.
is perfect. If anyone ever wants to do a Monsters Inc. shirt for your Run Disney race, please do that.
That's brilliant.
Whichever shop sells it, buy it and
That's
get it.
that's very, very creative. So shop go. Yeah, whoever did that. Bravo.
I love it. All right. So, last one. Do you have a favorite magic moment either as a guest at Disney World or as a shop owner?
Oh man. I would say as a shop owner, seeing my design for the first time, walking around and me literally like running after the person, being like, that's my design. Oh my gosh, I'm low. I'm YOLOso. Shout out to Audra. Audra Bot is her name. That was really, really special for me. That was really, really special. That was like the first time I'd ever seen one of my designs in the parks. It was a few years ago at this point, and it was just so cool. So that's a biggie on my list as a shop owner, as a regular just attender of the theme parks. Seeing my kids go through Magic Kingdom for the first time and seeing the castle and their eyes just lighting up. That was amazing. And our last trip, we had a lot of really magical moments with the kids, just, totally embracing all the things and seeing characters and doing all the stuff. So there's no shortage of magical moments at Disney, that's for sure.
And our last piece, but as we wrap up, any tips or suggestions or things that you would tell someone who's either thinking about starting their own shop or someone who's just a Disney fan who loves supporting small shops?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think that if you're going to start a shop, one thing that I was blissfully unaware of at the time is if you're going to be creative and you're going to do something different, prepare to be copied and to be duplicated in some way, shape, or form. So that was a really hard lesson to learn early on is if something's popular, just know that it's probably going to be lifted in some way, shape, or form. And that's really disheartening as a shop owner, right? The people who do that. And honestly, there's a lot of really, really big shops that do it. So it's kind of gross, but it happens. So I would say be aware of that. But also know your worth and know your value. There's a lot of shop owners and small business owners that kind of start and they make such tiny margins on some of the items that they produce when it really takes so much time. There's so much that goes into the items that you create. Don't undercut your value and your worth. And, know that that does ramp up too, right? Over time, supply and demand and stuff goes into a lot of that. But the time that it takes to create and the time that it took to create your presence too is also part of that. So I would say just be aware that it's probably not as easy as it looks. Most shops close within the first year. Give yourself grace if it doesn't feel like it's feeding your soul or your heart anymore. Just take a break. You can always come back. And I have, frankly. So I would say that much. And then for people supporting, I would say, just immerse yourself in the community and see what's out there and see what you see, who's kind of really pushing the envelope when it comes to newness and creativity and originality, and support those shops because those are the ones that are really putting the time and effort in. If you see the same kind of stuff over and over again and another one drops that you've seen kind of something similar, maybe support the original one. I would say that would probably be my biggest tip. And then, the other thing I would mention for anyone starting, Etsy is a platform that a lot of people start on,
Mhm.
but it's actually had so many issues over the last year that I would actually encourage you to look at Shopify or another platform to get your business started as well.
Awesome. So make the jump, be creative, use Shopify.
Yeah.
And if you're supporting the small shops, support the ones that are creative and original. And I think what's also important is engaging, even if you're not able to purchase
Yeah.
something, interact on Instagram or join the Facebook groups and
Yeah.
share and like and comment and all of that as well. That's going to also help to just expand people's reach and help their shops grow too.
That is worth so much to us as shop owners, just sharing. And when you're wearing something, sharing your photos of wearing some of the items that you've purchased. That makes, you see those little gifs and stuff of people like dancing and things like that when they make a sale. That was me all day. Yesterday, you can ask my family. I was jumping around the house when we had my opening. It makes people's whole day when you know that something that you've put a lot of time and energy into is out there somewhere or it's going somewhere. So that means the world, and just know that it does mean the world. It might be a small thing for you, but it means the world to people.
Amazing. Well, Lo, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Hopefully we will see you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks so much for hanging out today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our episode with Lo from YOLOso. Make sure you are following us on Instagram at Living the KG Life, and you've subscribed to the podcast on your favorite streaming platform. We have new episodes coming out every Monday with some bonus episodes sprinkled through, so keep your eyes out for those and stick around. It's going to be great.